and welcome to AI've Got Questions. I'm Stacey Epstein, your host. I'm a former CEO and four-time CMO, and I am in awe at how much AI is transforming our profession. I created this podcast to help expose some of the incredible new technologies and the amazing new ways we're doing work with AI in marketing and in go-to-market in general. I hope you enjoy the show. Here's the next episode. Today on the show, I'm excited to welcome Tejas Manohar from Hightouch. He is the co-founder and co-CEO. Welcome to the show today, Tejas.
Thanks for having me, Stacey. Super excited to be here.
Yeah, it's great to meet you. Although I did about 5 years ago, I got a presentation on Hightouch in an angel investing group that I'm part of. So it's great to see how far you've come, and I'm excited to get into Hightouch. But let's start with you. Tell us a little bit about you and your journey before you got to Hightouch.
Awesome. So I grew up in Tennessee, born and raised, came out to the Bay Area almost 10 years ago. It'll be 10 years in another 6 months or so.
Nice.
And love it here. I was always interested in technology from an early age, ended up learning to code games and websites and stuff like that for fun. And I didn't know about Silicon Valley back then, but when I learned about it, it was a dream to come out here. And then, one of my first jobs here in San Francisco was at a company called Segment. So folks in the Bay Area at least likely know Segment. They had a pretty big exit to Twilio, over $3 billion in 2020. One of the kind of first 10 engineers there.
Nice.
And that gave me some exposure into the marketing space because Segment was all about customer data platforms or CDPs, which, jargon aside, really means how do we help marketing teams and go-to-market teams get all their customer data of what people are doing on the website or in Salesforce or different places into the hands of business teams so that they can segment their customers, message them differently, understand patterns or quality of leads or whatever it is. And so I was a customer of theirs at a B2C company before and then worked at Segment for some time and then went on to start Hightouch when I realized there's an opportunity to create new platforms in the space.
Very interesting. Yes. I remember Segment well. And as we were discussing earlier, Freshworks, one of my former employers, was kind of touching into the CDP space as well. What was it about that experience that made you think that you could do something powerful, a little different and powerful? What was missing that you said, hey, I think we can do this better?
Two things. The first thing that I noticed was Segment and a lot of the CDPs out there were working pretty well for smaller companies like YC startup getting off the ground and has no sort of infrastructure around their customer data. And, companies like this could take Segment's SDKs and APIs, put analytics.js on their website, start tracking events of what customers were doing, and just have their first sort of data infrastructure through Segment. When we started focusing on enterprise clients at Segment, though, we noticed a pattern. It's really difficult to get companies to put all your data in the CDP or customer data platform. And that's the first step you need to do before marketing teams are actually able to use the product and start using Segment and all the data in it to send personalized emails to people or, analyze customer behavior. And that was something that I realized we could really help with. So problem number one, yeah.
Why were they hesitant? I mean, it seems like if you're going to invest in a platform and, you have a buying team, you agree to do it, why not put your data into it? Effort?
Effort. Yeah, it's really just a lot of effort, especially when you're thinking about businesses that have been around for decades and decades and have a lot of different systems with data, maybe offline data, like a traditional retail business, for example, point of sale systems. It's just not as easy as like a digitally native company or a startup to just, go online and track some events on the website. And then that's not really the full picture of the customer. So what I did notice was that we couldn't change how much effort it was to get your data in one place, but a lot of the IT teams and data teams at large enterprises were already spending tremendous effort to get all their data into one place. And that place was technologies like Snowflake or Databricks or Google Cloud or Redshift. And basically, they were already putting all this data in a data warehouse to run BI reports and do analytics. And so what my co-founders and I realized was I think there's an opportunity to tap into that data and actually put in the hands of marketing teams and allow them to use it for things like segmenting their customers into different groups, sending those segments to all the different marketing or advertising or sales channels that they have, building these personalized customer journeys, just all off the data that has already been compiled for analytics. So that was realization number one, was just that we could build a new type of CDP. We call it a composable CDP that sits directly on top of the data warehouse that companies are already putting together and start serving marketing teams right away. So you don't fall into that typical trap where you buy a new tool, it looks great in the demos, but then making that a reality is a challenge, especially as companies get bigger.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, when we started the company Hightouch, Snowflake had just IPO'd, largest tech IPO ever at the time, at least. And so the technology was growing like wildfire, and there were so many companies out there, and still are, to go sell Hightouch to. The second realization we had was that just because you give people and marketing teams and business teams and anyone self-service access to data doesn't mean they know what to do with it and the best ways to use it.
Yeah.
And that was something we realized really early on, right? You can give all this data into the hands of marketing teams or business teams or even, myself, but knowing which customers are good leads to focus on. Or if I'm a company like Gusto and I have 20 product SKUs after payroll, which someone signed up to originally do payroll, and I have all these things I could sell them, which SKU should I send each customer? And should I have sales reach out to them, or should I send them an email, or should I do multiple at once? Like, it's very hard to actually decipher those things. Having access to data and the ability to use it and run experiments is a starting point, but there has to be something better. And so that's kind of what we're working on now, which is how do we bring AI into the picture to really be this intelligence layer on top of all this data that we have and allow marketing and growth and just business teams to better leverage it and find out what they should show each customer.
Interesting. Okay, let me see if I can restate what I just learned. And I want to dive a little bit more into the real use cases. So, piggybacking off a lot of initiatives with larger companies to get their data all into one engine and be able to do all kinds of reporting and analysis and business intelligence off that data. You're piggybacking off of that effort and saying, hey, we'll just basically connect a CDP to that and pull that data. I don't know, would you say connect a CDP to it?
We just kind of sit the CDP right on top.
Right on top of
all
it.
the features you want from a CDP, like audience building, journey building, activation to all your channels. I want to target these high value leads in Facebook or in LinkedIn. We just bring all that functionality that you'd expect directly on top of the warehouse. We don't even need to copy the data out, which a lot of, larger companies or financial services, stuff like that really like.
Nice. And so you're giving the marketing and the go-to-market teams immediate access to all of the data that somebody else has already put all the effort in to put into a data warehouse. And then you are applying AI to the problem of, okay, I've got all the data in one place, but what does that even mean? How do I use that? How do I get intelligence from the data to help me do my job better each day?
That's exactly right.
Okay. And so now, and I really want to dig into the functionality because I do think marketers will hear CDP and every CRM company talks about CDPs or one source of truth and Salesforce out there, Salesforce One. As marketers, we've been hearing about this for years, since before Hightouch started. Mm-hmm. But let's get into the nitty gritty. What does it really allow me to do? And you mentioned a few things in passing, but I want to get into some details about the power of all of your data in one place and knowing everything you can about your prospect or your customer. And then the power of AI to actually execute tasks and strategies with that. Give us some real examples.
Yeah, happy to. So real examples. So we have companies like PetSmart, Grammarly, DoorDash that all use our platform, and they have tremendous amounts of data about their customers, right? What's everything that you've purchased through their platforms, or maybe in Grammarly, like what's your role, like what types of use cases are you using the platform for, how often you're using it, if you're inviting teammates, how big your company is, all this kind of information. This is hypothetical, right? And so what some of these companies are able to unlock using that data is to run really compelling marketing campaigns. Sometimes it's the campaign itself that becomes better using the data, and then sometimes it's more about who you're sending it to that becomes better. So I'll give two examples. Grammarly is known for running really good sort of recap emails. If you look online, Grammarly Lifecycle Marketing Program, you'll see some examples, and Hightouch actually powers those. They actually, reference things you're actually using the application for and things you should be, right, based on similar customers. Kind of like Spotify Wrapped, right? Sending personalized campaigns that really speak to an individual customer. The NBA does something similar in their mobile app using Hightouch, right? They actually power a screen in the mobile app that was popping up earlier in the season to show you all your stats on who are your favorite players, which teams did you spend the most time watching, like who scored the most points that you follow, and all this information based on what they know about you to create a really compelling marketing experience that previously would just be hard to do, right? Because you don't need to just pull the data once and pull a report of the data, but you need a system that's pulling all the right data at the right time continuously, sending it to new customers as new customers start using the application. And basically, Hightouch takes away all that plumbing, and marketers can go into our tool and say, I want to find all my customers who use the app frequently. I want to pull the top activities they do. I want to find their top teams. And just in a mix of natural language in our UI, you can select what data you want to be available for a really compelling marketing campaign and start shipping more campaigns that look like Spotify Wrapped and are super engaging versus campaigns that, just mention a new product that you're interested in selling the customer or something that's not as personalized. So that's one camp, right? Making the campaigns themselves more compelling using data. Two is just targeting the campaigns better. So speaking of AI, one of our customers, PetSmart, isn't actually just using Hightouch to allow the marketing team to build rules on top of their data, but they're actually using our product called AI Decisioning, which allows the marketing team to be able to set a goal, set a bunch of content or offers or emails, text messages that they want to try to send customers to drive that goal. Set some criteria, like maybe a budget for the amount of discounts you're allowed to send out, frequency cap, stuff like that. And then instead of doing any sort of segmentation, our system will actually experiment and run these different offers to different customers, learn who they're resonating with, learn who they're incremental for. So maybe some customers, you don't need to send a discount offer and they'll still purchase, right? And then automatically apply those learnings to send the right message to the right customer. So these are just some examples of how the system is being used in practice. And we've seen it both speed up marketing velocity. Previously, marketing teams would always have to wait on data requests or have a weekly, task on the calendar to ask the data team for a CSV to upload to Salesforce and send out this email. Now they can just automate it all themselves, as well as a really impressive metric improvements as well. So PetSmart, for example, is driving, an incremental 22% of sales from their marketing program to the salon program that they have in their store. Those are what the offers drive, like getting more people into the grooming salon, because that creates like an addictive behavior with PetSmart, a habit. And they've actually been able to drive a tremendous increase there.
Interesting. Yeah, that's fascinating. Speaking of DoorDash, I had a funny experience yesterday. We all use DoorDash, don't we? I'm sure DoorDash
I use it almost every day.
a lot of data around me and what I eat and what my kids eat. Yesterday, I was at Sports Basement, which is a sporting goods store here in the Bay
Area. Yeah, they support DoorDash now, I saw, right?
That's what I saw.
It's
so
crazy.
I was checking out and I saw a sign at the register and it said next time you can DoorDash. And I thought,
I saw the same
that's
thing too.
amazing.
Yeah.
Like because I was rushing to buy my husband a birthday present, actually. And I was like, God, had I known, I could have just shopped for this online and DoorDash it. And so given, I think this is probably something new for DoorDash. It's the first I've seen. So maybe they're not even taking advantage of it. But I'm assuming that using Hightouch, they could look at all of my history and they could probably know that I might be a Sports Basement customer based on my eating habits. And they might even know, who knows, they might even know my husband's birthday and they could send me a campaign that says, are you in a rush trying to get your husband a present? Because you can get it from Sports Basement on DoorDash, right? And they might be able to suggest a campaign like that.
That's exactly right. And what we're seeing with AI decisioning is kind of moving from a workflow where previously these marketing teams have more of a calendar of campaign that's going to go out. Like, not to say that there's only one campaign per day, maybe there's 5, but it's sort of on a calendar to a world where there is instead just a bank of content. So there could be offers running all the time for sports fans, folks who watch basketball, people who like fast food, people who like Asian food, etc. And the AI can be continuously deciding which ones to send different people. We're almost bringing the algorithms from Facebook and TikTok to the rest of the market in terms of just their everyday marketing activities, like sending emails and push notifications and everything out. And something I think is really interesting about the example you mentioned is it's not just marketing, like traditional marketing to your own customers. We are also seeing large brands power like advertising sales types of use cases through Hightouch. For example, a company like Sports Basement might want to pay a company like DoorDash a good deal of money, right, to advertise to customers who have bought sports related products in the past or who buy a lot of Gatorade or whatever DoorDash can find in its data to find that propensity that they might be interested in Sports Basement. And we're starting to power a lot of those use cases too, as every company around us kind of becomes an ad network.
That's fascinating because, again, if I DoorDash that present that I bought him some sunglasses, by the way.
Nice.
If I DoorDash that, then both Sports Basement and DoorDash are getting my business. So why not be cross promoting? I want to dig into the AI since we are all about AI on this show a little bit because I want to make sure I understand it right. In the scenarios that we've just been talking about, the AI is sort of taking over that decision. Like I, in the past, could go get all this data. Maybe it was hard and now it's easier. But let's just say I set up a way to get the data.
Figure it out.
I'm
Right.
still having to make decisions about what the data means and how I should execute campaigns based on the data. So I have to look at it and say, Stacey and her family like sushi and they like Shake Shack. That must mean that they're of this age and they might want to buy sunglasses at Sports Basement. But I think what you're telling me is that now with AI could just look at the data and say, we're going to spin out a campaign to Stacey about Sports Basement and DoorDash, and the marketer doesn't even have to make that decision. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, that's exactly right. With the small nuance, I would say that we're not yet seeing large companies at least spin up the campaigns on a per customer basis or anything like
Okay.
that with generative AI. But what we
But
are
they might
seeing,
group me, right?
yes,
Okay.
is put in a
Or
pool
segment
of
me.
right? I want to run instead of 5 campaigns this week, I want to give the AI an ability to run 100 or hundreds of campaigns in the future and just have it continuously decide which one to send each customer instead of you having to make those decisions. I do think we're going to get into a world, and we're excited for it, where it's a closed loop, right? The AI is not just serving content that we've created by hand, while helping the marketing team then look at what's working and create new content to the pool. But I think the generative AI generating on-brand content still needs a little bit work before we see that. Like I think for copy,
Yeah.
it's okay. For creative and stuff like that, it still has some ways to go.
Yeah. Well, I always like to end the podcast talking about vision. So I think you kind of already captured it. And we are still in such early innings of all this. And it's amazing to see how dramatic things have changed, even just in your two examples of like, hey, getting the data into one place used to be super hard. Now it's really quite easy, especially for larger companies. And then deciding what to do with the data used to take a lot of human intelligence. And now there's intelligence built into a system that can guide you. And the fact that we're still early innings, like there's just a lot of places that we can go, and it's exciting to see. I'm assuming when we talk about companies that are implementing Snowflake, they're certainly of a certain size. What is your target market in terms of size of customer?
Great question. So, as a company, we are focused on a little bit larger customers. We go up to the Fortune 500 type companies, but we do have companies that work with us from even 50 or 100 employees. Usually they should have at least one person on a data team
Yeah.
to sort
Okay.
of be a customer of Hightouch. We don't work with like the earliest stage of customers unless they're tinkerers and want to play with our self-service online, but it's not like optimized for someone who doesn't have a data warehouse and stuff like that. Though we are seeing, earlier stage companies adopt Snowflake and Fivetran and all these tools because they're just becoming so much easier. Like sometimes it's even a RevOps person who does it, right? Not necessarily a full data team.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, thank you so much for sharing Hightouch with us today. Really powerful solution, obviously. How do our guests get in touch with you?
Yeah, so my email address is just Tejas, Tejas, at hightouch.com if you all want to chat about anything. And then our website's obviously hightouch.com. So it's like high, like a high five, and then just touch, like high touch customer experience
Great.
is how we think about it.
High touch for the customer, but low touch for the marketer.
Yes, exactly.
A
That's
new
all.
tagline for you was just born.
Maybe.
Maybe. Well, thank you so much. It was great to have you on the show, and I will look forward to watching how you guys continue to progress such an exciting space.
Thank you, Stacey. Thanks for having me.